What is going on, Jet fans? I am Matt O'Leary back with another video on this lovely Sunday. Figured before we get into watching these games in the divisional round, should be a couple good ones today. I'm excited about the Lions and the Bucks, followed by the AFC matchup of the Bills and the Chiefs. I think you get two good games. Second game last night was really fun one to watch. The first one ended up being a blowout, which was not expecting. I thought the Texans would keep it a lot closer than what the final score was, and they did for the first half, and their future is bright. But more of the story, before the games today, I wanted to talk about some New York Jets news that we got over the last 24 hours or so. A couple of things, one regarding a potential big splash, which really isn't all that surprising. And the second one is there are two rumors going on right now with the New York Jets coaching staff, which I think is important going forward into 2024. So we'll start with the potential big splash. Rich Cimini wrote in his article earlier today that the New York Jets will look to make a significant addition at wide receiver in either trade, free agency, or the NFL draft, and would then push Allen Lazard down the depth chart. Now, Allen Lazard had a really, really bad 2023 season. I don't think he's as bad as what he played in 2023, but even with that, it became very, very clear you cannot rely on him to be your number two wide receiver going into the 2024 season. And if the Jets were to make that big splash and get a wide receiver two in here, I'd feel a lot more comfortable with Lazard as a wide receiver 3 or 4. Again, do I think he's as bad as what he was last season? I don't. That doesn't mean that he gets a free pass and is, again, wide receiver 2 this year. I don't think that's fair. But I think there's a chance he bounces back with Aaron Rodgers next year. But feel a lot more comfortable with him as a wide receiver 3 or 4. When looking at what Rich wrote, seems pretty obvious, right, that they're going to look to add at the wide receiver market. I would think trade or free agency is more likely. Sure, yes, with pick 10, they absolutely could draft a wide receiver, but if I were to rank the positions that the Jets would be most likely to take, offensive line feels extremely high. You would think that wide receiver would be next, but honestly, would like Brock Bowers surprise anyone? I don't think so. I think Bowers being the pick would probably be more likely than wide receiver, especially when you consider Malik Neighbors and Rome Odunze, I think will both end up being off the board by the time the Jets are picking. So at that point, what are you going to do? Reach for Keon Coleman? That doesn't really move the needle for me at that point. And that's not to say that they won't draft a wide receiver at all. I think, you know, it's likely they add a wide receiver in the mid round, but my guess would be that big splash is either a trade or a free agent acquisition. And with Davante Adams with the Raiders, that's one that's going to be talked about a ton. Now, Antonio Pierce did stay on to be the Raiders coach, so maybe that has an impact on Davante Adams and what they plan to do. Adams really likes Antonio Pierce, so who knows? Maybe he isn't ended up traded this offseason, but that doesn't mean that there aren't other options available for the New York Jets. There are. Okay, number 2 on the list. We got to get into the coaches stuff. All right, so the Jets are expected to make Deuce Staley an offer at running back coach. Thank goodness. I am really excited about that one and would hope that he is landed as the next running back coach, just because I think he's had a really successful career. He spent this last season with the Panthers. We know that season, the Panthers season did not go the way that anyone wanted it to, but before that was on the Lions staff the last couple of seasons and the Eagles previously. He was the Eagles running back coach forever, and he also has assistant head coaching experience. He's a well-respected guy around the league. He obviously played in the league and then transitioned to coaching and has been a very, very good running back coach. I spoke, I believe, in December, late November, early December, when the Panthers moved on from their coaching staff, that I would really take a long look at both Deuce Staley and Josh McCown as positional coaches for the New York Jets. Deuce Staley, a running back coach, Josh McCown, as we know, quarterback coach. They have been linked to Deuce Staley right now, and that's one that I agree with. I think he's a very, very damn good football coach and would make an immediate impact to this New York Jets coaching staff, because is Taylor Embry moving the needle for you right now? I don't really think so. Give me all the former assistant coaches on really good staffs that you could actually get. The last thing on this list is the New York Jets attempting to extend Aaron Whitecotton. He is the New York Jets defensive line coach. He's interviewed as a defensive coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and there's a chance with the New York Jets defensive staff, because of how good they've been, on the defensive side of the ball the last 2 years. Jeff Ulbrich could potentially get poached as a head coach, although he hasn't gotten any interviews yet. But guys like Aaron Whitecotton, the defensive line coach, is someone that you would expect. Tony Oden, defensive backs coach, cornerback coach, is guys who could potentially be lost to coordinator roles, down the line. And the Jets are trying to keep Aaron Whitecotton because guess what? The Jets defensive line has been their strength, especially over the last 2 seasons. He's been the Jets defensive line coach since 2021, since Robert Saleh got here. He was an assistant with the 2020 49ers, and the 3 years prior to that, he was assistant with the Bills defensive line coaches, with the defensive line. That unit in Buffalo in 2018-19 especially was really, really good. 2 really good units. So he was involved with the Bills, who had an elite unit. The 49ers had an elite unit. And obviously the Jets have an elite unit. So pretty much wherever he's gone, he's had success. And granted, it's been in a limited role, first as an assistant defensive line coach and now as a defensive line coach, but there's no denying that his units have had success, and there's a reason why the Jets want to keep him around, and this is one that I agree with. I think that's a guy that you do want to keep around. This defensive staff is really, really good. It's basically a polar opposite of the offensive staff. The offense and the offensive staff is really underwhelming. On the defensive side of the ball, they have been a great unit, top 5 unit over the last 2 years. And they have a lot of really good positional coaches. So that's one that the Jets are trying to keep around, and I agree with it. I think they absolutely should. So let me know your thoughts on both of these coaching rumors down below in the comments, and also your thoughts on the Jets adding another wide receiver. Where does it come from? Is it a trade? Is it free agency? Am I wrong? Is it an NFL draft pick in round 1? And your thoughts on Allen Lazard getting pushed down the depth chart. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's video. I'm Matt O'Leary, and I'll catch you next time.